Welcome back to Free America. Pull that a little closer so I don't pull it over. Again, this is the second video I'm making today on book reviews. So I said I would do more of that this year, so I wanted to go ahead and honor that promise. This one is about prepping books. So this is actually a story, and it's fiction. So I have to tell you that I'm not a huge fan of fiction. In fact, it took considerable persuasion for me to even read these books. And it was a friend of mine that I've known for quite a while who turned me on to it and almost, twisted my arm and made me read it. So I'm generally not a fan of fiction, because there's a lot of folks who think they know things, right? And they describe fantastical kind of prepper situations, But this book, 1 Second After, by William Fortune, is about him. I guess he plays the main character, his family, and what they go through when the United States suffers from an electromagnetic pulse nuclear attack. So I've said before that as far as prepping is concerned, I'm generally prepping for hurricanes and snowstorms and power outages and the kinds of things you can actually expect to happen in your world. I'm not a huge believer in shit hits the fan without the rule of law, the end of the world as we know it. All of these catchphrases that we tend to use in the prepper community. So I'm not really a prepper, right? I don't plan on bugging out if I don't have to. I plan on bugging in, which means I plan to stay here, if at all possible, where I have shelter, water, food, those kinds of things. So in the book, his family also, they stay where they are. And it goes through the struggles that they had. One of the struggles was dealing with getting the right amounts of prescription medication. So you should think about that. I think about that. What are you going to do if we are without power, or unable to locomotivate, long distances? How are we going to get those medical supplies that we don't necessarily have on hand? I think your average doctor and your average pharmacist is probably not going to give you a 3-year supply of whatever your medication is, and then you have to think about, is a 3-year supply enough, right? The other thing is, once the power goes out and you've cooked all the meat in your freezer, how are you going to feed yourself, right? That's why I believe growing your own vegetables, raising chickens for eggs and meat, and rabbits for meat, and those kinds of things are important survival skills, as are fishing and hunting, but not so much, because everybody's going to be trying to hunt. During the 1920s, after the after the great economic collapse we had in the United States, most of the game animals were hunted out within a year. So think about that. Wild turkeys had to be reintroduced to most parts of the United States because they were hunted out. Even white-tailed deer, which are like rats, the way they multiply, were hunted out. So think about that. Also, think about all the other, yahoos that are going to be out there trying to hunt at the same time. Same with fishing. All right, I have a favorite fishing hole. I promise you it would be fished out in a week, right? So what are you going to do? So in this book, they talk about all of the things that you would experience, including how they set up their own rule of law in their little town, and how they had to make hard decisions about who was going to get medical attention, who was going to get extra rations, who was going to get those kinds of things that you would expect. Oh, look, it's the Powerball that I didn't win that I used as a bookmark. So all of the kinds of things that you would expect to have to do. And of course there's some drama involved, and there's boy meets girl and all that kind of crap that you can just gloss over, right? I mean, it's good storytelling, but when you're thinking about prepping for real disaster, that's not what I read the book for. And the follow-on book to that was 1 year after. So, and it kind of continues the story about how government entities tried to reestablish control over the United States, and how there was corruption involved and all that, and those kinds of things. And it's good to think about. There's a lot of shoot 'em up kind of, how we survived the war with the other side of the mountain and shit like that. It's not necessarily based in reality, but all of that to say, the book was so impactful that when it first came out, you would see this book in the hands of people walking through the halls of the Pentagon. Congressmen and women got up on the floor of Congress, of the Senate and the House, and recommended that people read the book. So, frankly, that doesn't mean shit to me, what a politician recommends, right? But let me recommend it. I think it's worth the read. Again, it's fiction. It is based in the future, They don't really say who attacked the United States and who set off a nuclear EMP and all that kind of stuff. But I got to tell you, all you have to do is, read the news. If you don't think North Korea can hit the United States with electromagnetic pulse nuclear weapons right now, then you're not paying attention. I'm not fear-mongering. Don't misunderstand me. The likelihood of them doing that is still pretty remote. So, and lots of people, whether you like the president or not, are working very hard to make sure that those kinds of things don't happen to us. So, when you think about what it is that you're actually preparing for, what it is what is the worst case scenario that you should be preparing for, EMP is probably the worst case scenario that you can imagine happening, in the next decade or two. Unless, the climate change folks are correct and the whole world ice cap is going to melt and we're all going to flood, in which case you need to get a raft and learn how to fish. So thanks for joining me here today. Thanks to all of my subscribers. Thanks to Hoople's cat, again, is a guy. He reads prepper fiction on his channel. You should listen to it. It's interesting to hear what people think might happen, to hear how that drama unfolds. So God bless America. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining me back here in free America. See you next time.